Greetings, everyone. This is Cassandra Faye Floyd, also known as the Daughter of the Fates, founder of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. I'm a little bit late, but always right on time. So, hi. So, it's been a little while, maybe a week, since the last live that I did. And the last one that I did was a reading from the Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets, which I will be continuing to read from today. And I am quite certain that this reading is right on time because of several posts that I have been seeing that have been coming across my feed and have been quite concerning. It's been a part of a kind of trajectory that I've been talking about for some time now. And okay, so the last time I read, was very tired, and so I'm going to actually reread what I read. But anyway, so for those of you who are joining just now, for those of you who are joining for the first time ever, again, my name is Cassandra, and I will be reading from this most magnanimous, wonderful, auspicious piece of work by Barbara G. Walker called The Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets. The Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets. Readings, Carlotta. Yeah, so I'm going to be reading, and I'm going to do just a hair of an overview. So what I was talking about while thumbing through to find where I left off last, for those of you who follow me on my Facebook page, I've actually shared a couple of posts today, but I've been talking out for a few weeks now, maybe about a month. We started off with reading about and learning about from different texts the secrets, myths, taboos, and magic centered around menstrual blood. We've talked about the term witch, where it emanates from, what its implications were. Today, we're going to be reading from the section entitled Witchcraft from the same book. And there's a reason I'm on this. There's a reason that I'm on this. Yeah, there's a reason I'm on this. Is because, baby, listen, I could do a long dissertation about this. It's probably going to end up being a workshop or something. But I just want to perpetually, continuously reiterate to you that what we are witnessing, among other things, in this period, greetings, Nura Allah. Oh, that's too bad, man. Wow, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm going to be posting some video footage from the birthday party, so that way you can at least see what happens. But anyway, there is a priming that's happening. There is, and it is a part of a bigger thing. So there's two things that's happening. One, I've been talking to you guys for well over 2 years about the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church, which is the hidden Roman Empire, old, ambitious Roman Empire, whose stated ambitions was to conquer the known world, hid itself, remarketed itself, rebranded itself as the Holy Roman Empire, then as the Roman Catholic Church, or the Holy Roman Catholic Church. Ambitions ain't never changed. Strategy has never changed, baby. And so that's one aspect of what we're witnessing, is this power play that the Roman Catholic Church is attempting to make. On the one hand, the Roman Catholic Church as the figurehead, one of three, in particular, four figureheads of modern colonial domination, you understand, known as, now we got these people named like the corporatocracy or the plutocracy or whatever. The corporatocracy, governments, states still function under the direction of these four institutions, and the one taking the lead in most arenas is the Roman Catholic Church. Those institutions are the Roman Catholic Church, the institution of Judaism, the institution of Islam, and the institution of Christianity. Now, make no mistake and be mad about it if you want to, but these things are overlapping because they are married, right? And so, the reason I am talking about this is because I have been seeing a lot of posts. I've already talked to you about it in mass, about how all of these movies that have been coming out for some time, many years, about witches, witchcraft, witch schools, all the witchy shit, right? But it's like, remember when I told y'all when I was doing the movie review for Suicide Squad, and I said no matter what the movie is, the state always wins. The state always wins. No matter how good the movie is, no matter how much you love the protagonist, no matter how much you root for the antagonist, does not matter. In the end of the movie, the state always wins. Always. And there's a reason that I am talking about this. Because a lot of these witch movies coming out, like the one I kept telling y'all to watch, the newest one, two newest ones, The Wheel of Time and The Power, even though it's like seemingly progressive, seemingly about the empowerment of women and all of this shit, the underlying narrative is still, one, that the state always wins, and two, everything becomes justifiable. Any crime, any terroristic action on behalf of the state is always justified. What we would normally be able to clearly see are as injustices, crimes, inhumane behavior in the individual becomes justified as instruments used by the state. And typically those instruments are always levied against others, particularly women of color, and even more particularly Black women. All others. But if you want to talk about how that is playing out, listen, when we talking about all these dudes, I'm talking to the Black folks watching. We talk about all these dudes who all a brother got to do to make a quick buck these days is get himself a YouTube channel, spitting venom on the name of Black women, and he'll make some money. He'll get some sponsors. He'll make some money. He'll do well. All he got to do is talk about all the ways that Black women are terrible, that Black women have condemned the Black community, that Black women have caused everything wrong and identifiable as wrong with the Black community is the fault of some Black woman somewhere. All he got to do is talk about why Black men hate Black women. All he got to do is spit some vitriol about Black women, and he can make a buck. He can do good. That is not separate from what I am talking about. That is not separate. Today, I saw a post about Ian Van Zandt. Love her, don't love her, that's your business. But it was a picture of Ian Van Zandt in a church. She was dressed in her apostolical, garments, you feel me? Because she's a reverend. She's not only a priest of Oshun in the Ifa tradition, she's also a reverend. And she also does work with many types of people, Christians and everybody else. She is a counselor. So she is in the picture, she's doing something with these sisters. It's a room full of Black women. And one of the Black women is on her knees, obviously praying. And then Jan Van Zandt has got her hand on the sister's head. And there's some kind of interaction here. Well, the dude who posted the picture went slap the fuck off about witchcraft and Black witches and African witchcraft and just going on and on and on and on and on. and how you Christians, y'all let this kind of stuff infect infect Christianity and all of this stuff going off. This same dude, if you go to his page, he has also called on quote good Christians to form armies to reinitiate the witch hunts. Now, when you go on his page and he talking about which is this, which is that, every image he posts is of us. Every image that he posts is of us, you see. And so, and then all these other movies that are trying to somehow win people back into the embrace of the Roman Catholic Church, which has been taking serious hits, in its image for quite some time, for obvious reasons, but for other reasons as well. People are coming back into the traditions of their ancestors. Indigenous people are leaving the Catholic Church. Mexican people are leaving the Catholic Church. People who have been devout Catholics are turning over a whole new leaf. Africans in America and in the Western Hemisphere who have either been Catholics or Protestants are leaving the church in droves for the traditions of their ancestors. And so the whole crew, Catholics and Christians alike, are doing this whole big ass rebranding campaign that is setting its sights on the same people who have been the victims, the primary targets and victims of these institutions since day one. Right? And we've fallen for it en masse. Too many Black women right now who are on the pulpit in these churches, and their target is so-called blanket statement witchcraft, anything that is African, any tradition that is African. Any tradition that is African is now witchcraft. You understand? And then the other thing is this contest, because I got a very stern position. I do not hesitate about my stern position. Not only am I not a Christian, not only do I not co-sign on Christianity whatsoever, I do not believe Jesus ever existed. That's my personal opinion. It's my personal belief. But I am hostily opposed to Christianity. That. As hostily as Christianity is opposed to everybody else, I am just as hostily opposed to Christianity. I am sick and tired of Christians attempting to, quote, save my fucking soul. My soul is secure. I am secure in my afterlife. You understand? This colonial attitude being taken up by poor people and working class people and Black people who this tradition has never served, but we still hogtie to a belief system, child, that is the scourge of the age. It is the scourge of the age. And we are being primed, the many are being primed to do terrible things under the auspice of quote, fighting evil. I talk a lot about the Inquisition. I talk a lot about the Spanish Inquisition and the subsequent Inquisitions. And the reason I do that is because we can learn historically in kind of like a detached way, a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a very intellectual way, we can look back at the Inquisition and be detached from it. But the thing that always strikes me, the thing that always stands out to me, is that this thing happened and happened as long as it did because this terror campaign launched by the Catholic Church, literally turned human beings against loved ones. It literally, I just think about us right now today. I think about, I've talked to you guys about this before. I wonder when, the temple is more outspoken, when the temple is more recognized, when we do the work that we're supposed to be doing as the temple. I wonder I think about who in my family because they are still tied to this ideology, will not only abandon me, but will betray me because of their allegiance to a mythology. I wonder who in my family will remember, who will recall that I am a good person, that my whole life has been defined, my adult life has been defined by how I can show up for others. What are the skills that I have that can do some good for other human beings? That my goodness as an individual human being will not matter because I'm a witch, or because I have been identified as a witch, or because some label has been cast on me that will justify some crime that happens to me. You understand? This is the place that we're going to. This is the place that we're entering into. They rely on us having short-term memory. They rely on us seeing history as something apart from us. So we do not recognize it when we see it in real time unfolding again. And that's what's happening. And all of the movies and all of the songs and all of the cinemas and all of the sermons have been priming us to accept it when it happens, to accept the capture of women, the capture of others, the violent crimes committed against others for how they live in the world, for how they present in the world, for how they dare to be in the world. This shit has been priming us to accept. Hell, we're seeing it happen in real time. Mississippi talking about re-implementing fucking Jim Crow laws. This lunatic in Florida, in every other day is some madness that he's doing. You understand? Look, you can go anywhere in this country and see madness unfold. This city that I live in right now, I am witnessing it in real time. My homeboy just came out here from Baltimore. He just left yesterday. He was like, "Damn, y'all, you've been saying this shit on TV, on the internet for a long time. They've disappeared all these Africans. I cannot believe that I have hardly seen any Africans in this city in the 10 days that I have been here." He said, "We have been everywhere." I said, "What? Do you not think that is going to have an impact on the entire face and feeling of the city to disappear 500,000 black people in 20 years? This shit ain't make-believe out here." And everybody's okay with it. Everybody is okay with the absence of this black presence that's been forcefully disappeared out this bitch. You feel me? Well, you can be comfortable with that. You can be comfortable with any number of crimes that are coming down the pipe under the auspice of some religious zealotry or some revival of the spirit. I've been hearing that a lot. The revival of the spirit, a renewing of the church. You understand? We are here. And every day I am seeing some man of color, some man that looks like me, spitting the most violent vitriol against African women, against black women. Every day. Every day. This is dangerous. It's already having an impact on the life of African women. It is. This hatred that these dudes are talking on the internet is displayed in real time in our communities. You cannot have, 148,000 black women disappear in a year out this country unaccounted for. 77,000 of them under the age of 14, unaccounted for, and it not be directly tied to the fact that we are out here wide open, defenseless, not worthy of protection according to most of these dudes who talking this shit, and a percentage of them actively participating in said disappearance, in said murder, in said disappearing of black women and girls, you said. So when I read to you about witchcraft, when I read to you these things, I want you to understand where I am coming from and why. I don't blindly teach. Everything that I tell you is purposeful. Everything that I am teaching you is purposeful. It is because we have to have a voice out here that is helping us all the time recognize the age that we're walking into, the period that we're walking into, and the violence that has a potential to be tied to it, as those who are losing a grip on power are fighting for their fucking existence. This is real. And we cannot be out here like individual spiritualists, not squadding up, not using the spiritual tools that we have in conjunction with the political tools and the economic tools and the social tools. That's some irresponsible shit, if you have me test. If you have me tell it. If you have me tell it. So we have to, I hope you hear me when I read to you today. I hope you feel where I'm coming today. I hope that it makes you angry enough to say, I need to prepare me in mind for what's coming down the pike. We've been primed to accept some shit coming down the pipe that we ain't got no business accepting. And we are so demoralized. We so tired. We're exhausted off this shit is what it is. We're exhausted. We are exhausted with oppression. We are exhausted with the corporatocracy. We are exhausted with the goddamn plutocracy. We are exhausted with the goddamn 1%. We are exhausted with weirdos that we elect into positions of power who betray us every time. Every single solitary time. We're exhausted on this massive amount of institutions that see us as the body through which it can feed itself. Oh no, ain't no, listen, we ain't got no time for this shit. We better be sharpening our motherfucking blades even as we lighten sage and putting crystals in our pockets. I'm just telling you. Anyway, so with that being said, just pay attention to what you're witnessing. Pay attention. Email me. If you find something that is disturbing that you want me to talk about, if you find an article that is like a confirmation of what I am talking about, send it to me so I can talk about it, so I can discuss it. We have to be able to read between the lines. We have to be able to see what it is happening, not only to us, but everyone around us, so that when these motherfuckers pull a jack move, which is coming, when they pull a jack move, we know exactly what it is, and we know exactly what they're trying to pull, and we can sidestep that shit. Okay, all right. That's my introductory diatribe. Lotus, little sister Lotus Flower, peace. How you doing? Thank you so much. She says she loved my channel. I accept that. Thank you so much. Okay, Frank and Kay, Letitia, everybody's in the house. All right. Okay, so we're gonna get started. So for those who joined late, we're reading on witchcraft from Barbara G. Walker's The Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets. The Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets. If you do not have this book yet, you need to own it. One of the things that I've been talking to the members of the temple about is that one of these days, we women of color in particular, are going to have to be freed up. We're going to have the resources in the space to think and to intuit and to channel so that we can do a new revised version of this book and her other book, the Women's Dictionary of Symbols and Sacred Objects. Because this book, as wonderful and spectacular as it is, was written in 1983, and it was written from the worldview and perspective of a woman, a white woman, a white woman in North America. And that worldview makes a difference about what is and is not in this book. And so those women of color, Native women, Asian women, Indian women, indigenous women from the Western Hemisphere, and African women have to do a new revised version of this book that includes all of those things that have been left out, you see. Because the book is great, but it is missing a whole chunk of history that women need access to. So I'll leave it at that. Okay, so I am going to, for those of you who may be following along, I am on page 1085. Actually, 1086. And I'm going to start at the second paragraph after the italicized portion. But just to summarize the italicized portion, it was like a piece that was written by someone observing that period, the witch trials, and he talked about how so many. Let me just read the last little section. Many, even of those, also confessed being swayed to take course by interrogation, who promised them indemnity for life and fortune. Some there were of a truth. Basically, he's talking about, because I hate reading old English. He was talking about how there were whole organizations set up to levy allegations against people who had money, against people who had influence, against people who might have better skills. So one group of people that were constantly accused of witchcraft were women healers during this bourgeoning period where males were becoming, quote, doctors, and the community healer represented competition for his ass. Then he would have somebody accuse her of witchcraft to get rid of his competition. It was all kinds of people who might have beef because of land disputes, could just accuse another of witchcraft. It was like everybody was in on it, right? So those prisoners who found themselves condemned to death immediately shrieked aloud that they had been tricked. They were promised a light sentence, such as a pilgrimage, if they confessed as the inquisitors had wanted. Witchcraft persecutions picked up momentum when inquisitors were seeking new victims to keep their organization going. In 1375, a French inquisitor lamented that all the rich heretics had been exterminated. There were none left whose wealth could support the Inquisition. And it is a pity that so salutary an institution as ours should be so uncertain of its future. End quote. Then Pope John the 13th empowered the Inquisition to prosecute anyone who worked magic, and the Inquisition slowly and unevenly developed its concept of witchcraft. Soon, the church was making sweeping claims, such as the claim that the entire population of Navarre consisted of witches. Witch hunting sustained itself because it became a major industry, supporting the income of many local nobles, bishops, kings, judges, courts, townships, magistrates, and other functionaries, high and low, all received a share of the loot collected by inquisitors from their victims' assets. Y'all ain't hearing. Y'all ain't hearing. You hear me? Victims were charged for victims were charged for the very ropes that bound them, and the wood that burned them. Each procedure of torture carried a fee. After the execution of a wealthy witch, officials usually treated themselves to a banquet at the expense of the victim's estate. Y'all are not here. Yo, as a matter of fact, oh my God. Carlotta, give me a hands up. Give me a hands up if you still here, Carlotta. Carlotta, you still with me? Letitia, you still with me? Okay, I need someone to take a note for me so I can remember. And then I need you to email me the note. Okay, Kate and Diddy, I need someone to take a note for me so they can email it to me so I can remember. What we need to do is we need to do a comparative analysis. Write this down somewhere. We need to do a comparative analysis, okay? Like two columns. We need to do one column called the Inquisition. Then the other column we need to do, we can call it the prison industrial complex. Yeah. We need to do a comparative analysis of how the Inquisition unfolded, how the Inquisition made the Catholic Church rich, how that wealth was distributed amongst the nobles and the judges and the magistrates and all that shit. And then we need to do the same thing with how the prison system after the end of slavery functioned the same goddamn way. When they're talking about how the estate of the accused paid for everything, for their jailing, for the ropes that bound them, for the wood that burned them, for the different instruments required for their torture. That sounds like the prison system to me. It sounds like what happens when false charges are levied against Africans to bleed them of any kind of assets that they have. Let me tell you, side note, this is sidebar, but I need that to happen. I need y'all to email that to me so I don't forget. We need to do a comparative analysis of the Inquisition and the prison industrial complex. But let me tell you what happened. Just a few days ago, maybe 3 or 4 days ago, there was an article in the Los Angeles Times about a lawyer who is filing a class action lawsuit on behalf of 1,200 Black people in the city of Los Angeles who have been arrested in the last 2 years. In a city where they already disappeared 500,000 Africans. You feel me? So he is filing a class action lawsuit on behalf of. There were 1,200 arrests in 2 years of Black people. Of those 1,200 arrests, 2 sustained charges. 2 of 1,200. 2 people sustained charges of the 1,200. The others, the charges were dropped. They ain't sustained no charges. But on the other side of that, if you get arrested and they do a seizure of property, it's damn near impossible to get your shit back whether you sustain charges or not. Anyway, after they killed the accused, then they would have a banquet. They would have a banquet at the expense of the victim's estate. The inquisitors were no less zealous in wringing the last penny out of their poor victims than in helping themselves to the estates of the rich. In 1256, a woman named Ramonde Barbara died before her sentence could be carried out, leaving to her heirs a chest of linens, her clothes, several cows, and 4 sows in cash. 4 sows in cash. The inquisitor demanded from the heirs 40 sows for all the property. Such petty and vulgar details, Leah said, give us a clear insight into the spirit and working of the Inquisition and of the grinding oppression which it exercised on the subject populations. A history of the Inquisition written by a Catholic in 1909 had to admit that it invented the crime of witchcraft. Listen. A history of the Inquisition written by a Catholic had to admit that it, the Catholic Church, invented the crime of witchcraft and relied on torture as a means of proving it. At first, the Inquisition encountered skepticism everywhere. Even theologians shocked the inquisitors by attributing natural disasters to chance or God rather than to witchcraft. The public disbelieved witches' confessions, saying they were extracted only by torture. Peasants in some subalpine valleys broke into open rebellion against the judge's wholesale burnings. It took decades of ceaseless propagandizing and ruthless measures to stop the mouths of critics. Before the persecution could be said to have won public support. Severe persecution dated from the bull of Pope Innocent VIII, or is that that's not, yeah, Pope Innocent VIII. The severe persecution dated from the bull of Pope Innocent VIII, Sumis Decidiantes, wherein God's vicar infallibility declared that witches could blast crops and domestic animals, cause disease, prevent husbands and wives from copulating, and in general outrage the divine majesty and are a cause of scandal and danger to very many. The divine majesty being apparently unable to look after its own interest without human help, the churchmen took it upon themselves to carry out God's vengeance, which developed into a hideous nightmare as the church's mailed fist stretched over the Western world for 5 fucking centuries. Five centuries. Okay? 5 centuries. The earlier Canaan episcopi ruled that witchcraft was nothing but a delusion, and it was heresy to believe in it. But that was before the church discovered how to profit from it. Y'all ain't heard. In the earlier years, when they were just burning heretics who just wouldn't comply with the church, it was heresy to believe in witchcraft until they discovered how profitable the belief in witchcraft could be. After Pope Innocent's reign, it was heresy not to believe in witchcraft. According to Martin Del Rio, S.J., anyone who thought witchcraft was only a deception must be suspected of being a witch themselves. No, child. No one was allowed to speak against the extermination of witches. Inquisitor Henrik von Slothissus said, "He who opposes the extermination of witches is with one single, he who opposes the extermination of the witches with one single word cannot expect to remain unscathed." Superstitious belief in the evil of witchcraft persisted to a very late date. The last English witch trial took place in 1712. The last official witch burning in Scotland was in 1727, with unofficial incidences even later. Only a century ago, an elderly woman in the Russian village of Wasku was locked in her cottage and set afire for bewitching cattle. Her murderers were tried and sentenced only to a light ecclesiastical penance. In January 1928, a family of Hungarian peasants beat an old woman to death, claiming she was a witch. A court acquitted them on the ground that they acted out of irresistible compulsion. That was in 1929. The real reason for persistence of the witchcraft ideal was that Christian authorities couldn't let it die without admitting that God's word was wrong. And listen, oh my God, listen, oh my God. Ooh, child. The real reason for the persistence of the idea of the witchcraft idea was that Christian authorities could not let it die without admitting that God's word was wrong, and God's servants had committed millions of legal murders and tortured millions of helpless people without cause. Dr. Blackstone, England's ultimate authority on jurisprudence, wrote, "To deny the possibility, nay, actual existence of witchcraft and sorcery is at once flatly to contradict the revealed word of God in various passages, both of the Old and New Testament, and the thing itself is a truth to which every nation in the world hath in its turn borne testimony. When skepticism about witchcraft seemed to be on the rise, John Wesley cried bitterly, "The giving up of witchcraft is in effect the giving up of the Bible." Calvin and Knox also protested the denial of witchcraft meant denial of the Bible's authority. Listen, Joseph Gavin, chaplain to Charles II, said all who disbelieved in witchcraft were atheists. Oh my God. Listen. Despite such protests, skepticism grew with the slow advance of the Age of Enlightenment. In 1736, Scottish laws against the crime of witchcraft were formally repealed, yet the church refused to keep pace with the law. 40 years later, ministers of the Associated Presbytery passed a resolution declaring their unabated belief in witchcraft. As late as the 1920s, a rector of 4 parishes in Norfolk could still write, quote, "If I were to take a census of opinion in all 4 villages, I am certain that I should find a majority of people seriously professing belief in witchcraft, the policy of the evil eye, and the efficacy of both good and evil spells," end quote. The churches wouldn't let these beliefs die. Christianity then has been chiefly responsible for the survival and growth of witchcraft as an article of faith. It seems so still. In the 1940s, Seabrook estimated that half the literate white population in the world today believe in witchcraft, and the non-literate, non-white population attains a much higher proportion. A Gallup poll taken in 1978 showed that 10% of all Americans believe in witches. But what is meant by believe in? It could mean a belief that there are people who call themselves witches. This is self-evident enough. It could mean a belief that such people erroneously think they have supernatural powers. It could mean a belief that such people really do have supernatural powers. It could mean a belief that, as the church has always maintained, witches are agents of the devil seeking to destroy the world out of sheer perversity. Or it could mean a belief that witches preserved an older and better religion based on worship of nature and the female principle. Those who now call themselves witches usually uphold some version of the latter belief. A modern witch, Leo Louis Martello, says, quote, "We worship and identify with the horned god, lord of the hunt and the underworld, and the mother goddess, especially the latter, Mother Earth, Mother Nature. Without the female principle, men wouldn't be here. Witchcraft is a pre-Christian faith. It tends to be matriarchal, whereas both Christianity and Satanism are patriarchal and male chauvinist. The latter two are merely opposite sides of the same coin. Witchcraft, as an old religion, is a coin of a different vintage, predating both," end quote. Asked how he feels about belonging to a heavily matriarchal tradition, one male witch answered, "I'd rather be first mate on a ship that is solid than captain on a ship that has a rotten hull, a ship that is sinking. Patriarchy is such a ship. Witches have defined patriarchy as manipulative and domineering. The matriarchal worldview, on the other hand, values feelings of connection and intuition, non-authoritarian and non-destructive power relationships. It is claimed that witchcraft tends to correct what W. Holman Keith called the fundamental religious error of our time, quote, to substitute force as the divine and the ruling principle, to substitute force as the divine and ruling principle in place of beauty and love, to make destruction, in which the prowess of the male excels, more important in life than the creativity of the female," end quote. Certainly the history of witchcraft shows men persecuting women in order to maintain a male monopoly of profitable enterprises such as medicine and magic. Women of outstanding reputation in any field were at risk, since almost any woman's accomplishment could be defined as witchcraft. When the church declared war on female healers, healing became a crime punishable by death if it was practiced by a woman. Women were forbidden to study medicine, and if a woman dared to cure without having studied, she is a witch and must die. Doctors eagerly listen. God damn it. This is happening today. Today. Doctors eagerly participated in the witch hunts to eliminate their competition. It was all done very deliberately. Given the number of instances in which the church combined with the various economic groups, from doctors to lawyers to merchant guilds, not only to make pronouncements about the incapacities of women, but often to accomplish the physical liquidation of women through witchcraft and heresy trials. One can hardly say that it all happened without anyone intending it. Churchmen who availed themselves of witches' services sometimes persecuted even those who helped them in the first place, in remarkable examples of ingratitude. Alison Persoon of Byrehill was so famous as a healing witch that the Archbishop of St. Andrews sent for her when he was sick, and she cured him. Later, he not only refused to pay her fee, but he had her arrested, charged with witchcraft, and burned. Y'all are here. The muddy illogic of prosecutors' sexist thinking is nowhere better illustrated than in the notion of the witch's poppet or wax doll, which could be mistreated by piercing or melting in order to make a human victim suffer corresponding stabbing pains, fevers, and other troubles. When the witch destroyed the doll altogether, the victim would die. Yet, oddly enough, when male authorities discovered the doll and destroyed it, the victim would not die, but would recover. A similar sexist attitude was apparent in the whole idea of traffic between human beings and demons. Burton's criminal trials of Scotland stated that a male sorcerer is the master of demons, but a female witch is the slave of demons. Yet, her offense was usually considered more punishable than his. Modern witches, male and female, seem inclined to restore the sexual balance of old romances where men's magical skills were acquired under feminine instruction. The witches appear to be reconstructing an old religion in a new format, gradually working out a theology that owes more to ancient Indo-European models than to the reverse Christianity associated with the idea of Satanism. Ooh, child, they call it reverse Christianity. Oh my God. Yo. Important points upon which this theology differs from Christianity are the following. The female principle is deified, equal to or greater than the male. Body and soul are seen as one and the same. One cannot exist without the other. Nature is sacred, not to be abused or conquered. The individual will has intrinsic value and is not to be subordinated to the revealed will of a deity. Time is circular and repetitive. Existence is cyclic. The figures of the triple goddess symbolize constant repetitions of growth and decay. There is no original sin and no hard and fast separation of, quote, good and evil. For example, a feast of fresh beef is good for the feasters, but evil for the once living main dish. Sexuality, spontaneity, human and play activities may be incorporated into ritual where the experience of pleasure is regarded as a positive force in life rather than a temptation or a sin. The goddess speaks to modern witches in somewhat the same vein as the speeches drawn from her ancient scriptures. Quote, "Mine is the secret that opens upon the door of youth, and mine is the cup of the wine of life, and the cauldron of settlement, which is the holy grail of immortality. I am the gracious goddess who gives the gift of joy unto the heart of man upon earth. I give the knowledge of the spirit eternal, and beyond death I give peace and freedom and reunion with those that have gone before. I, I who am the beauty of the green earth, and the white moon amongst the stars, and the mystery of the waters, and the desire of the heart of man, I call unto thy soul to arise and to come unto me. For I am the soul of nature, who giveth life to the universe. From me all things proceed, and unto me all things must return. I have been with thee from the beginning, and I am that which is attained at the end of desire. Oh my God. So that is the end of that section, which is on witchcraft, according to the Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets by Barbara G. Walker. We have a few minutes left, as I am going to be with you for an hour. So I think I may go. Circles are associated. Okay, so let's see. This I might do later. This is long. Yeah, I'll do this one later. Yeah. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna just randomly choose something from this book because I love it so much to read to you guys. You know what? I know exactly what I'm gonna read. Yeah. So one of the other things that's happening a lot is with the quote revival of the church, which is what most of these weirdos are calling for, is a revival of the spirit or revival of the church. Is the whole concept of the apocalypse, the end of days, the Christ's return for the church. Let's see. Where is it? I think I've read that to you before. Doomsday. And I think I've read the Mother's Curse to you guys too. The Mary Magdalene section, huh? All right, let's check it out. Yeah, I might just wrap it up actually. Lucifer. I think I read that one to you too. Okay, yeah, I think I might just wrap this up. Deuce. Did I read the section? Yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm done. So let's see. I guess like in conclusion, we should just kind of sum up about what I read today and what I entered talking about today, because I think I'm gonna have to teach a workshop. And I also think, oh, you know what? I do have one more thing I want to tell you. But I think I'm gonna have to start doing like direct. Addressing direct videos. You know what I'm saying? Like going through some of these videos. Like there was a video I just saw about, I don't remember, Tiffany. What was this woman's name? This black female preacher or whatever she is. Tiffany. She just got herself a whole lot of followers and acclaim because she did a whole presentation on like condemning members of the church who quote attend Beyonce concerts or whatever. So I think that's what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to start addressing directly instead of just like generalities. I'm going to have to start directly addressing some of this madness that's coming out, particularly from the black church. Yeah. And then I'm also going to call on you all to do me a favor. I might have to put off the favor because I can't remember this woman's name. I just saw a video very randomly. I don't even know how I came across it, but it was this woman who was doing a video on E5, right? And in this video in E5, it was very general. But there was a section in this video, Spirit wanted me to see it because there's no reason that it should have, like, we don't have any connection. We don't have any mutual friends or anything like that. And I've never seen any of her videos, but it happened to come through and like recommended shit or whatever. And I saw it a few days ago. And this woman outright stole from me. Like, there's no way, because I've never seen anybody else talk about it. I've told y'all that. The first time I taught it to you guys was in a workshop that I did almost a year and a half ago. Shit, almost 2 years ago now. And I have a problem because this has happened before. So what happens is those of us who you know, like I have about 500 subscribers, you understand, like followers. Like I don't have like, you know, next level views and shit like that. We're small little small little channels or whatever. But there is a tendency among, listen, first of all, I started this shit as an activist. I started doing this as an activist, right? As a revolutionary. And so I am of a particular position that the police and police acting people, agents, police, people who act like the police, snitches, that's police shit. You know what I'm saying? I am of a particular belief that everybody is suspect. Like when I was in the movement, if you listen, it don't take much for me to believe you police. You feel me? And so I have had several incidences where people with much bigger followings than I have. But I've been in this shit for a long time. My page, my YouTube channel might not be that old. Maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. But I've been doing this shit for a long time. You understand? And in different circles and in different ways. And so it's happened several times where people who have bigger followings or bigger names, I know, because I always give people the benefit of the doubt too. I don't know everything, but what comes to me as epiphany, not out of nowhere, based on my experience, based on my worldview, based on what I know, based on the study that I have done for 20 years, what comes to me as epiphany, I know when it is mine. I know when no one else has done that. And I also try to make sure that it's not, I will cross check. I will make sure that I'm not biting other people's shit or saying something that has been said before I said it and not properly giving credit where credit is due. Right? And so it has happened several times. And I'm gonna give y'all her name when I remember what her name is. But I just saw the video and I should have, if I was been thinking about it, I would have had it. But the next live that I do, I'll tell you what her name is. Because I'm about to go to her page. I've already asked a couple of people to go to her page and call her ass the fuck out. I do not appreciate, especially no priest in the tradition. Nope. It's so gross to be talking out one side of your mouth about Iwakwele, about living with good character, about doing the fucking right thing even when no one is watching, and then to turn around and steal somebody's shit and not give them credit. Not say, I want to shout out Sister So-and-so because I never even noticed this or I never even paid attention to this, but here it is in real time. Here it is. Simply, when I tell you, I'm not imagining things. The diagram that I drew for you guys, she drew exactly the same way. So I know she stole it. I know she watched my shit. And she only posted it 10 months ago. So I know she watched it. I know she watched my shit. I know she stole my shit. And then all coincidentally, just randomly threw it in her shit without even any context. Without any context for where it came from, how she came up with the idea. I just can't, man. Umar Johnson did the same thing. I did a whole video when this dude, I know he watched my shit and used it in his presentation and didn't say and I know this nigga, and didn't say my name once. Didn't say where he got it from. Didn't say shout out, man. That shit is really astute that you noticed that or that you are paying attention in that way. I am sick of y'all, man. I am so sick. Me and my homeboy Bossy was talking about this because I was upset. I saw the shit, as a matter of fact, the day before my birthday. I was like, why? Why would some African woman do this shit to another sister? When it don't take nothing but to say, let me tell you what I saw on this homegirl page. Y'all need to go check her shit out. That's simple. Let me show you what I saw. I never even paid attention to it. Go check out sister so-and-so shit. You understand what I'm saying? I saw the shit the day before my birthday, and I was upset. And the boss was like, don't let this shit get on your motherfucking nerves today. You can deal with it later. Don't let this shit get on your nerves today. But I'm through it. I'm so done, man. Listen, we was talking about it yesterday before he was leaving. Because there was a reason in the 90s, the culture was different. Like we was talking about hip hop. How back in the early days of hip hop, especially the late 80s and the early 90s, when people were getting more like radicalized and people were getting more like conscious. You understand? The culture in hip hop, and that was everywhere. It wasn't just in one place. Anywhere you went, the greatest crime you could commit in hip hop culture was to bite someone's shit. And it wasn't like, oh, we'll call you out for biting somebody's shit. You could get synced. You could get fucking hurt for biting somebody's shit. You could get punched in the fucking face. If somebody saw you out in public and they know you bit your shit, you bit their shit, your ass would get synced. And that was a defining culture that kept the culture edgy, that kept the culture sharp, that it was like iron sharpening iron. As a matter of fact, it was like punkish to bite somebody else's shit. Like, you don't even need to be up in this shit if you can't come up with your own shit. You ain't got to slide. You understand? And so what it would do was make you really study the craft, really come prepared to do battle with other motherfuckers who might be, intellectually sharper than you or whatever. But to bite somebody's shit was to get fucked up. To bite somebody's shit, to sound like somebody else, to dance like somebody else, to not come original was to get fucked up. And that culture don't exist no more. Nowhere, nowhere. And no culture. And I believe that's some police shit, by the way. I believe that shit was an instigation by police. I really do. I believe the state has infected all this shit. You understand? And it's easy to say that, Nura Allah, don't get upset. But it is the principle. It is the principle. And that's what we're fighting for. That's why I'm telling y'all the story about hip hop. That's why I'm telling y'all, man, that shit did not fly just a hot second ago. You could not do that shit. You could not. Just the audacity to steal someone's shit. And not just that. The reason I'm angry, let me tell you politically why I'm angry. Because, and even back in the period of hip hop, where I'm talking about how biting was the greatest crime you could commit in hip hop, right? Biting was the greatest crime you could commit. And they were, and brothers and sisters were violently militant about that position. You could get synced. You ran the risk of having somebody run the fuck down on you for biting their shit. But let me tell you why. The undertone, the political reason for that, whether it was expressed or not, is the same. Black people have been accustomed to white people stealing from them all along. Every time we create some shit, we know white people gonna steal. Every time we create some shit, we know white people gonna steal. And we're damn near powerless to do anything about it. This has been black artists, the black creators' experience from day one. Is that we know that whatever we create, they feel entitled to. They feel they own it. They still have this goddamn slave master mentality that dictates that whatever you create, black person, it's ours. It belongs to us. We are the ones that should benefit from that which you create. And so there was a rage, a seething rage, watching giants become world renowned and die in poverty. John Coltrane and Sonny Rollins and all of these giants, Big Mama Thornton, and all of these people who we just now learning their names and know that all of their works were stolen by some white person who becomes the king of rock and roll or the king of this or the black people are accustomed to white people stealing our goddamn cultural creations. So fast forward to the LA 80s and the 90s, we didn't play that shit. You can't be black stealing from no other black person. What the fuck is wrong with you? That was the undertone. It was a political statement that was being made. It was a political statement that was being made. You cannot do that, brother, sister. We out here struggling to create a culture that sustains us, that fulfills us, that provides a way for us to make a living that isn't slave goddamn labor. You cannot do that. You can't steal from me. I'll fuck you up. That was the narrative. You can't steal from me, African. This is problematic. It's a political statement. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not me, quote, just having some vague ass attitude about some woman stealing my shit or some man stealing my shit, laying up on my shit and not doing something, because I ain't even asked nobody to pay me. You understand what I'm saying? And not having enough integrity. Both of the people that I mentioned, this woman and Umar Johnson, are priests in the tradition. So these ain't even lay people who, quote, don't know no better. Out one side of their mouth talking about Iwa Quayle, talking about living with good character. And then lay up on somebody motherfucking shit and steal. And then act like there's some shit that's proper, that popped up from the genius of your own goddamn brain. When politically you stupid, politically dumb as dirt, but you just had an epiphany one day. It's problematic. And this is the thing that I'm talking about. And there's no way to really get in front of it. My homeboy Abasi is always talking about, you say too much. You give too much away. He was like, you need to trademark and copyright every motherfucking thing. You need to find one of these rich white people and get a lawyer that is willing to go to battle for you. You know what I'm saying? Because this is going to happen. What is going to happen is the more you speak and the more followers you get, the more people are going to be laying up on your shit, studying to steal. And I'm telling you, I was so disappointed. Like, I come to expect a certain kind of fucking behavior from men. I do. I went off on Umar Johnson about that shit. I did. But to have this woman be on here, a fucking priest of Yemaya, stealing my shit and not saying a 2-second, I found the sister's page and she was the one that put me on. She drew the very same diagram, you guys. I know exactly where the fuck she got it from. As a matter of fact, she got it from the period of time, the 6-week goddamn Pluto return workshop that I did with you guys. Anyway, so I had to get that off my chest because that shit pissed me off. And Spirit wanted me to see it because I ain't never seen this girl. I ain't never seen her page. And it just happened to show up at 8 o'clock in the morning as I'm letting my YouTube just play through shit. Her shit come up. And I'm like, did she just say what the fuck I think she just said? Child, I was outraged. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so the rage and the outrage has gone, but it's still something that we need to acknowledge that we can't do that shit. We cannot do that shit. Black people have to reestablish a precedent. We do, man, because this shit that we do among each other, this shit is ugly. This shit is ugly. And I don't know how we think we got to stage a contest with no motherfucking body when we do not lay foundational fucking groundwork for how we relate to one another, how we show up for one another, how we behave in the presence of one another. I don't know how we think we got to stage a contest with no motherfucking body. I was just talking to a homegirl of mine about this today. I'm like, man, this shit is out of control. This shit is out of control. I'm talking about our relationships as Africans, Black people, everywhere on the planet. This shit is out of control. And I'm just telling you, that shit had me on one. You understand? I am. Kate and Diddy says Little Richard sang the way that he did because he didn't want his song stolen, and he hasn't been duplicated since. But Little Richard got robbed. Little Richard still got robbed. He still got robbed. As a matter of fact, I don't even want to go into that, but he got robbed, and he was damn near running the risk of dying impoverished until Michael Jackson bought his what you call it, his all his music, all his works, his collection of work. I forget what you call it, but anyway, bought all his shit and gave it back to him as a birthday gift. But Little Richard got robbed. Because most of y'all are too young to remember when his ass was having to do dumbass demoralizing fucking commercials just to eat back in the 80s until his catalog, thank you, until Michael Jackson bought his catalog, I think it was from Sony, that had been, just exploiting him his whole motherfucking life. Michael Jackson bought it and gave it to him as a birthday gift. And it was mad as hell. White people was mad as hell. You understand? So that's what I mean by getting robbed by white people for our intellectual work and our intellectual property. So it's a different kind of blade that sticks in your fucking spirit when some black person, especially some black person calling themselves a priest in an African tradition, do some dirty, damn, grimy shit like that. Y'all don't believe what you say. You don't believe what you say. There are too many priests in this tradition. There are too many people, period, not just Africans. There are too many people in so-called traditional religions and traditional culture who ain't shit. Who ain't shit. The tradition hasn't transformed you at all. You brought in your grimy ass fucking ways, your terrible ass character, and what you have consumed has not transformed your fucking ass at all. Hasn't transformed your behavior. Hasn't transformed how you treat human beings. Hasn't transformed your grimy ass nature. I'm gonna get over however the fuck I think, however the fuck I can. And listen, when I joined the party, I took that shit serious. I mean that. I took it so serious because I recognized that a shift in a person's consciousness could transform anything that we identify as colonial behavior. And it did. I was fucked up. I was a drug addict. It wasn't a 12-step program that got me clean child. It was the line of the African People's Socialist Party that saved my fucking life. It was. I was still smoking crack when I joined the party. And when I got clean, it was because I was so fucking convicted, man. I knew that we had the ability to transform the whole goddamn planet. I believe that shit. And that we couldn't do it if I was fucked up. The chairman told me, he said, why you use drugs, girl? Oh no. He said, well, you can't believe it. You can't. He said, you cannot believe we can win. I don't know what you mean. He said, woman, either you believe that we can win or you don't. Either you believe African people have a future or you don't. There ain't no in between. And if you believe that we can win, and if you believe that we can have a future, you cannot succumb to substance. You can't be out here addicted. Addiction is for the hopeless. Addiction is for those who do not yet see the vision for a future. They don't see no way out of this shit. That can't be you. You can't have it both ways. That's what he told my ass. You can't have it both ways, member of the African People's Socialist Party. Bitch, you even believe we can win or you don't. And you have to make a decision about what that is before you can say you're going to stay in the party. Because we can't have nobody up in this organization who don't believe we can take this shit. That's what saved my fucking life. I meant it. I knew. Because as soon as I got clean, and it changed me. It changed every aspect of me. It changed how I related to us. It changed all the conditioning that I had in my relationships with African women. I had real fucking peculiar relationships with African women. Listen, belief is supposed to change you. It was no different when I became a devotee of Ifa. I took it personally, the tradition. Everything the tradition had to say, every Odu, I took it personally. It changed me again. So it be real motherfucking demoralizing to me. It be real demoralizing to me when I meet Africans who've been in this tradition decades. When I meet Africans, priests in this tradition who can recite every Odu, who know what the tradition says, who know what the Odus say, know every song and every dance. And behind closed doors, they are diabolical, wicked, maleficent motherfuckers. And I'd have met them bitches. That shit is demoralizing. And it wasn't just the tradition, even in the movement, even in the party. To hear motherfuckers who know the line up and down, back and forth, the 14-point platform of the party, the rules of discipline, and ain't shit in their relationships with Africans. Ain't shit in how they treat human beings. Don't give a fuck about people's hearts at all. But no line can do a presentation like you ain't never heard. How y'all any different than preachers? How y'all any different than the Roman Catholic Church? Y'all in here doing diabolically monstrous shit to human beings, man. And people are so fearful that they don't say shit. Listen, I done seen shit that is on par with the Roman Catholic Church. I done heard stories of people victimized by priests, by dancer leaders, by chiefs, by community elders in indigenous communities. Yo, man. So y'all got an attitude. I mean this shit. And I'm not above reproach. You feel me? I am not above somebody yanking my shirt. Being like, look, you feel me? You done fucked up. Let me tell you what you did. Because I do. I'm human. I fuck up. I done had to eat crow on a many a day. I done had to go back to someone and say, you know what? I'm sorry. What I did or what I said, that shit was fucked up. Even if I meant it at the time, I don't mean it no more. Or even if that was the way it came off, even if I meant it, the way my delivery was not cool, it was incorrect. I want to apologize. I want to take responsibility for that. How can I show up better? So yeah, I have an attitude about so-called priests in the tradition that I value doing wicked, malignant, unprincipled, fucked up shit to other Africans. I got a problem with that. And I know that there's no excuse because I know how the tradition changed me. I know how political consciousness transformed me as a human being. You have to be open you have to be malleable. You have to be open to spirit, transforming your fucking heart. Man. And those of us who that is the position that we take. That is how we step out into the world. Having like this unshakable goddamn confidence that we can win this shit, that we can completely reshape the entire face of the fucking planet. And that's the shit I'm talking about. That we have a responsibility to check sternly people that hide in the spaces that we hold valuable wreaking havoc. I hope y'all understand what I'm talking about. Because I'm about to give y'all this woman name. As soon as I get up off of here, I'm going to do another live tomorrow. And I'm going to say, remember that woman I was telling y'all about yesterday? I need y'all to go to her motherfucking page and call her ass out. It's fucked up. I'm going to call her by name. You see. There's another one I want to call by name. Because as you begin, listen, the state is always paying attention. Okay? The state is always paying attention. That's not to frighten you or to scare you. It's just to make you aware of what it is you're up against. The state is always paying attention. I know the state pays attention to me because before I ever did this as a spiritual person, I was a hardcore political activist for a long time. Every time I left the country, I was getting flagged. Every single time I left the United States, they was pulling my ass aside, going through all my shit, random checks, but I'm always getting yanked. You feel me? So they know who we are, even if we do not internalize our importance. And I learned that in part. So I was always getting yanked every time I went overseas. You feel me? So I know the state pays attention. I know the state watches. It don't cause me no fret. It just makes me aware. So I'm saying that because when the state creates dissension as well. So I'm going to call this female by name, but somebody else has been sending me messages. I don't know who this person is. They like when I go to look at the profile, there's no pictures, there's no nothing, no information, no pictures, just this person's quote name on their Instagram and on their Facebook. She first messaged me on Facebook, and then I blocked her, and then she started messaging me this week on IG with just this picture and then this name. Now the name is I'll give y'all her name too. Yemoja. She spells it Yemoja. Yemoja. Shit. I forget. I'm gonna tell y'all too. But anyway, I am putting her name out in public because I do not know who this woman is. I talked to a friend who is in the tradition, so she says she in the tradition. You feel me? She says she got some relationship with Oyotunji African village. I'm putting it out right now. And so she started inboxing me about a month ago, and I'm like, who is? Because the messages are literally insane. I have never experienced anything like this in my whole life. So violently insane, violently, belligerently disgusting messages this woman has sent me, right? And she keeps saying, I know what you did, and you in the village owe me, and like really whack shit. And I was like, I talked to a couple people, they're like, we don't know who she is, we don't know nobody by that name. So I'm like, well, this is not random. I was like, so this must be police trying to get me rattled or some shit. This, like, my conclusion is, if it's this kind of weird ass shit, it's the police, right? The last message that she sent me was on the day before my birthday. Okay. And it said a name in it that I know. The name in it that I know. I called this brother. And I haven't talked to him, I don't know, a year. But I was like, yo, like, who the fuck is this? Like, some woman is sending me really crazy, neurotic, violent messages, and she is mentioning your name, right? Like saying stuff like you took my man, but they ain't never even been remotely close to the relationship I've had with this brother. So I'm like, this is way bizarre, way outside my league. So I call him, he's like, oh my God, not you too. So apparently, long story short, he's saying he know the chick, he met the chick, she live in Oakland, and Carmelita Howard, who is my age, she's 48 years old doing this shit, stalking my page. Now, whether it's her or whether it's the police trying to instigate some shit, fronting as her, regardless, I'm putting her name out there in the world because listen, I ain't got no time for this shit. I ain't got no time for dumb ass shit like this. And so it was a lesson because as you begin again to put yourself out there, you see, You will not only attract like minds and those that are on the same page and frequency that you are, but you will also attract the police and fucking weirdos trying to destabilize what it is you're trying to do, disrupt what it is you're trying to do, especially if it is of substance, especially if it is something that people can hear and it resonates with them differently than other noise that is out there. So, to Carmelita Howard, whoever the fuck you are from Oakland, California, dear, you need psychological help. And I don't say that too often to too many. But the way that you have been talking is very concerning. If you real, you understand? If you ain't the police, baby, you need help. And more power to you. May the goddess bring it to you swiftly. You feel me? I wanted to put that out. So I don't even know why I brought it up, but I just wanted to put it out there because listen, I don't move in the dark. Everything that I do behind closed doors is what y'all are aware of. Everything that I say here is how I behave in the real world. I do not live a life of duplicity. I ain't one motherfucker over here and another motherfucker over here. The motherfucker that you see right now is the motherfucker that you will meet out in the world. You feel me? It don't matter who y'all is or what the scenario is. Okay? So y'all know that. Okay? So Mon Amy, the two people that I was talking about earlier that fucking stole from me, they on YouTube. I might have to find the names because I wasn't even intending on talking about them, so I didn't even. Y'all see me jingling I just love my little hair. But anyway, I'll mention it again tomorrow in my post that I'll do tomorrow. I'll call names and add links to the videos that I'm talking about, so that y'all can make mention in the comment section that it is not cool, it is inappropriate and hella unprincipled, and of extraordinarily fucked up character to be stealing from another African, especially another African woman. You feel me? That's what I'm calling on y'all to do. That's what I'm about to do is type a whole dissertation on her shit and be like, nah, you know what I'm saying? You can't do that. You cannot do that. You cannot not cite your sources. You understand? So anyway, hope y'all got a lot from the reading. It was really good, and it's one that we really need to dig into because this narrative is gaining momentum, and this narrative is really directing itself towards those that have the most potential to make an impact. That is melanated women. That's women of color in general, Black women in particular. So you better recognize what it is that you're witnessing, and be ready to go toe to toe with these religious institutions that have held these people captive. Don't be timid about going toe to toe intellectually with Christians. Stop tiptoeing around the sensibilities of Christians. Stop tiptoeing around the sensibilities of fucking Muslims and Jews and everybody and Buddhists and everybody else that is hogtied to some patriarchal tradition. We know what this is. We have too much information now that arms us to go toe to toe with the people that have held the world captive for this last age. You feel me? So let's do this. You know what I'm saying? That's real. That's real. Nura Allah, yes, it's real. This is I've been saying, man, these are the birthing pains. These are the birthing pains of the new age. You feel me? And this shit is painful, but we gotta go toe to toe with these. Like, since when is Christianity gonna behave peacefully? Yeah, but behave with respect. Do they understand mutual respect? No. They still believe that everybody on the planet that ain't Christians kicking the doors of hell wide open. Why would you be respectful of someone that believes that about you? Believes that about your soul, that you are damned. And in your damnation, you ignorant. They're so arrogant and audacious. It's gross. That in their ignorance, they are so audacious. so arrogant, so repugnant in their disdain for others. I'm not interested in making peace with Christianity, coexisting with Christianity. I'm just telling y'all, y'all need to know what I mean. Y'all need to know what I mean. And Christianity ain't interested in coexisting with anybody else either, just so you know. So, it is the quintessential colonial tradition, imperial tradition. Its ambitions are the same as its grandfather, the great Roman Catholic Church, is to colonize and conquer every square inch of the known planet. Those ambitions have never changed. So, that's all I got to say about that. I hope you were fed from this live. I hope you won something from it. I hope I didn't. No, I don't hope that. I was going to say I hope I didn't offend anybody, but if you offended, it probably means you needed to. So, I love you all. I wish nothing but peace, prosperity, and a bountiful life for each and every one of you. I think you are all wonderful and awesome, and I'm so grateful that you took the time out of your busy day to join me this evening. This is Cassandra Faye Floyd, also known as the Daughter of the Fates, founder of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence, and I will see you guys again tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.